What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So the biggest takeaway from yesterday, it wasn't that Vindman lost in Florida. It was actually a special election in Pennsylvania. And we're going to take a look at this race because this could have major implications when it comes to the 2026 midterm election. So that is what we're going to focus on. Let me show you first what I'm talking about. So the race in Pennsylvania, this special election, now this is House District. We're talking about a legislative seat, so in the state. So House District 12, we see that Brandon Dukes, he won this race, and he won it by 50.16%. He beat Republican Scott Timko, and Timko had 49.63%. And this was a head-to-head pretty much. I mean, you did have a write-in. They only received 35 votes. But what's interesting about this race is Trump won this district by 18 points in 2024. And so you have Trump winning this district by 18 points. Then you fast forward 2 years, and now you have a Democrat that wins a special election in that same district. And so we're seeing this shift. And we've been talking about this, especially when it comes to special elections. We have special elections. We had special elections in 2025, 2026. Democrats are outperforming Republicans in pretty much every special election that we see. Even some of these special elections where Democrats lose, they still outperform the numbers that President Trump put forward in 2024. And so we're seeing these negative job approval numbers. We're seeing the economy, the affordability crisis. All of these negative numbers are impacting the elections that we're seeing, the primary elections, the special elections, and we'll have to see if it will impact the midterm elections as well. And so the fact that the president's job approval is under 40%, that's having a major impact on how voters feel and how voters are voting when they go to the booth. Because remember, this midterm election is going to be a referendum on the president. If the president is not doing well, then you're going to see some of these candidates on the Republican ticket lose seats. And so let's dive a little bit deeper into President Trump's job approval. Here we go.
While his approval rating is at a very low level, the lowest of his presidency, CNN's Harry Enten looking at all the numbers. How low is it?
You know, if this were a game of limbo, President Trump would be winning. Unfortunately, this is the game of presidential popularity, and he is reaching record lows yet again. He is losing. Just take a look here. Okay, Trump net approval hits a term too low. Look at this. 31 points underwater, 31 points underwater, according to Ipsos, the Reuters Ipsos poll. Look where he was at the beginning of term number 2. He was at plus 6 points. So he is down, what is that? The math quickly with me, 37 points from where he was at the beginning of his second presidency. You know, President Trump was unpopular going into the midterms during his first presidency, but not anywhere as unpopular as this. He was 12 points underwater. So he is doing versus where he was at term number 1 at this point. He is doing, what is the math here quickly? He is doing 19 points worse than he was doing in term number 1 at this point. And of course, those midterms were quite disastrous for the Republican Party. So you look at these numbers and you just go, oy vey if you're a Republican.
All right.
And so let's talk about this for a minute. The reason why they're using 2018 is because 2018 was the midterm election. So you had President Trump was in office for 2 years. You had the midterm election right there. And that's why they're using those numbers. So minus 12, that's what we saw back in 2018. Now we're seeing minus 31. And remember, back in 2018, Democrats netted 40 seats. So they were able to win 40 seats. That was a blue wave back in 2018. Now we're looking at his job approval. It's even worse, 19 points worse. And so what are we going to see in this midterm election? Most likely we're going to see Democrats take back control of the House. They only need to net 3 seats to do that. Now, the fact that redistricting is in play, that does help Republicans because Republicans should be able to gain some seats in redistricting because they do have an advantage when it comes to that. But just looking at the numbers don't look good for Republicans. If President Trump's job approval is minus 31, and it was minus 12 back in 2018 when Democrats did really well, then we know what's ahead of us. We know what's coming. Now, remember, January of 2025, when President Trump came into office, his numbers, he was at plus 6. So his approval was higher than his disapproval. But now he is at minus 31. So we've had a major shift. What does it say? 37 points since from the beginning of Trump's administration, the second administration, 37 points. That's huge.
Right. Independents have a big role to play always in elections. Give us some sense of where they stand, because there is still a lot of the party that supports Donald Trump.
Yeah, okay. So, you know what? Republicans still, in large part, support Donald Trump. But as independents, who are the name of the game, they are the driver in elections. And just look at why these numbers are falling the way that they are. It is because of independents. Look at these drops. I mean, Trump's net approval rating among independents, term 2. He's 47 points underwater now. 47 points underwater. He was at -1 point at the beginning of his presidency, basically treading water, right? So what is that? That's a 46-point drop. So you see that drop of, what, 31 points from where he was at the beginning of his presidency, or 37 points from where he was at the beginning of his presidency among the overall electorate. But that's nothing compared to this 46-point drop among independents. And compare that to where he was at this point in term number 1 before those midterms. Again, he was underwater then, but he was just 10 points underwater then. Now he's 47 points underwater. So that's a drop of what? 37 points? So this has been the problem with President Trump's second term, according to the public, which is he is going and placating the base, but leaving the center of the electorate behind. But you know what? You have to win the center of the electorate in order to maintain your popularity, in order for Republicans to win in these midterm elections. But independents are saying, you know what? We don't like what's going on. See you later.
Yeah, and the big question is, do they show up and vote for a Democrat, or do they not show up? Those are always the questions you have to ask.
And just piggybacking on what she was saying, do they not show up, or do they show up and vote for Democrats? I mean, either way is bad for the Republicans, because if they vote for a Democrat, obviously it's going to help the Democrats. But if they don't show up, if they don't vote, that is going to hurt Republicans, and it's going to hurt a lot of the incumbent Republicans, because the incumbent Republicans, they're going to rely on voters coming out and showing up. Because when you look on the Democratic side, you have energy there. You have people who are energized. Democrats, Republicans, independents, they're energized to vote for a Democrat. They're asking for a check on the president. Just look at Texas. You have people who are energized to get out and vote for Tallarico. Look at Maine. You have people who are energized to vote. Look at Georgia. Georgia's a state that Democrats have to win. Ossoff has been able to get people energized to show up and vote. And then getting back to some of these special elections, you are seeing people energized to get out and vote. And those outcomes are benefiting Democrats. And that's why I'm talking about this, because not only are we just looking at numbers, not only are we just looking at polling information, when you tie that into what we're seeing in actual special elections, it's showing that Democrats have a huge advantage. And the reason why they have a huge advantage is because the current administration, their policies aren't working. The policies aren't working. People expected or wanted lower prices. They're not getting lower prices. They didn't want to be in wars in other countries. That's what we're looking at right now. They wanted gas prices to be down. Gas prices aren't down. And so now they're going to come out and they're going to vote against this current administration. Just think, 18 points. 18 points is a huge margin. If we're looking at some of these other races that are out there, 18 points would be a solid Republican seat. We could see some solid Republican seats go to Democrats just as a result of this current climate. And so now I want to pass it off to you. What do you guys think about all this? What do you think we're going to see in the midterm elections? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.